Now for example number 3, we want to show that the average velocity of a car over a time interval from t1 to t2 is the same as the average of its velocities during the trip. The solution would state that if s of t is the displacement of the car at time t, then by definition the average velocity of the car over the interval is delta s divided by delta t. And that would mean s of t2 minus s of t1 divided by t2 minus t1. Now on the other hand, the average value of the velocity function on the interval is the following. So the average of that velocity is equal to 1 over t2 minus t1 with the integral that goes from t1 to t2 of that v of t velocity function dt, which would equal 1 over t2 minus t subscript 1 of that integral going from t1 to t2 s prime of t dt, which would then equal 1 over t2 minus t1, subbing in the interval because the antiderivative of s prime of t would be s of t. And then plugging in the two values gives us s of t2 minus s of t1, and that's by the net change theorem. And therefore you can see that this times 1 is in the numerator, and the denominator becomes t2 minus 1, which brings you back to the average velocity.